Why would you listen to some random guy give you information on who to pick in Football Manager? I'm not going to give you my opinion. What's that worth to you? I'm going to give you straight up numbers and let you make your mind up for yourself. So how are we going to do this? Well, there's two things that I would say make fun things to do in Football Manager. One is having lots of money to spend and low expectations in a team so that I have lots of time to build a team. The board's not going to get my back and I can do what I want, sell a load of players, get everybody round to my way of thinking and then push on in the league. That's one way. Second way is it's a real challenge. The board have ridiculous expectations versus what I've got to work with, and I've got to really pull my finger out and get creative in order to stay in a job. So how are we going to work this out? Well, most of the time, a football team's performance is based on the amount of wage they are able to spend on players. Higher wage budgets means they're more likely to perform. Pretty standard barometer of success. So we're going to use this. I'm going to weigh this up against expectations and see which are the more fun teams to play and which are the more challenging ones. So what does this look like? Well, we're going to plot a load of points on our graph of expectations, which is like battle bravely against relegation versus qualify for the Champions League, win the league. Higher expectations get a higher score on our expectation axis here. And then on the x-axis, we've got just the wage budget. So in the middle, we can put a nice little fit line. And this is our band of mediocrity here. Your expectations are about par for the wage budget that your club has. Lots of clubs fall in here. We're not going to pay any attention to these because they're average. They're average teams, average expectations. Very plain, very vanilla FM experience there. Anybody above the line is in the challenge zone. They have expectations way above what they should and don't have enough wage really to properly meet those expectations. So they're going to need a really good manager to see those expectations through. And then on our bottom and right hand side of this line is the fun zone. And in the fun zone, we've got way more wage budget to play with than we really should have for the expectations of the board. And here again, we'll pick out some teams that are really fun. And we're going to do this across all 5 leagues. And we're going to do this across the top 5 leagues. Pick out some fun teams. This will definitely pick up ones that other people don't recommend at all. And should pick out some right corkers for you. We'll have a look at a few of the players they've got. It'll be great fun. So let's look at the Bundesliga, for instance. Top corner of our graph is FC Bayern. They expect to win it. They've also got the highest wage budget. Very on par with what we'd expect to see throughout the league. Meh, vanilla. A little bit further down, we've got the European Champions Cup zone. Now, between Hertha, Bayer Leverkusen, Leipzig, and Borussia Dortmund, they all expect to qualify for the Champions League. Borussia Dortmund have the best wage budget out of all of them, but actually, it's very on trend with what we expect to see for the rest of the league. So actually, very vanilla, in spite of the fact that you've got Haaland and Lukaku to play with there. But Hertha BSC are well off trend. Hertha BSC come out as a big old challenge. You're fighting all those other teams that have bigger wage budgets than you for those Champions League spots. Now, Hertha always come good in later seasons, as any veteran of the FM series will tell you. But to start with, you have got Luke Bacchio, don't know, I might be butchering that one, who always ends up very nice in the Football Managers. You got Piatek and Jovetic, old FM fave, as strikers up front. They're probably going to get you a lot of goals. But is it as strong as the other teams? Probably not. Hertha, big challenge to get into the Champions League stages, I reckon. If you want a challenge that's a bit further down the leagues, Frankfurt, very similar sort of distance from the line that Hertha would be. And further down the bottom of the league, SC Freiburg. Now, you've got a whole host of teams right at the bottom down here that are so close that I can't even separate them, that are more likely to get relegated. But Freiburg have a very low budget for what looks like a sort of mid-table finish expectation. On the other end, in the fun zone, is FC Augsburg. huge wage budget for what their expectations are. And with Zakiri up front, some really solid defenders who are going to score you some goals from corners, I think you could seriously overperform the board's expectations here. Getting the gist of it? Right, next league. Liga. Now, even though PSG have a huge wage budget and big league winning expectations, their wage budget is way in advance of really what our trend line reckons is required, even just to expect to win the league. So PSG win our League One Fun Zone champions. Have a fun zone. On the other end of the scale, you got some challenges in Liga. Obviously, dethroning PSG, massive challenge in itself. But AS Monaco have the highest expectations of the rest of the teams, despite only having about the 4th highest wage budget. Though with Monaco, you've got, Chouameni, who always sells for stupid amounts of money and is obviously like mega wonder kid in the game. And you've got Bodu? Tell me in the comments if I'm butchering it. He's worth like 90 mil. Yeah, sure, he's got 16 pace, but that 13 finishing, 13 composure, you could put that money that from his sale to good use. Similar levels of challenge to be found down the bottom with Montpellier and Rennes. And also LOSC and Nice, where their expectations are way higher than perhaps their wage budget should really allow. Now, Serie A, as you'd expect, good old Juve storming out ahead. But there are 4 teams challenging for those European Champions League spots. And of them, Atalanta have the lowest wage budget by far. They're well into the challenge zone. And on the other hand, Inter, they're probably one of our, well, in terms of the top end of the league, they're in the fun zone. Gotta be careful with these diagrams, otherwise they might start looking a bit phallic. Atalanta, of course, have got personal favourite of mine, pacey muscle man Zapata up front with his 19 strength. He's going to bully any defence. Further down, you've got Torino, Sassuolo and Udinese, all with much higher expectations than perhaps their wage budgets allow. Especially in the case of Udinese, they have very similar expectations to a number of other clubs in the league, but their wage budget is much lower. And at the other end of the scale, in our fun zone, we have got Empoli. Empoli just they're fighting relegation, but they've got way more wage than any of their competitors. And with Cotrone up front, he's from Wolves, he's going to bang them in for them. Now, the Spanish leagues. So, up the top end, usual suspects. Barcelona don't seem to care that they've got 1.2 billion in debt. They'll still give you a substantial wage budget to keep paying everybody with. Everybody falls in line quite well in the Spanish leagues, perhaps because there's such a disparity in the wages. In terms of your challengers, you've got Atletico Pamplona. And then up the other end of the scale, you've got Sevilla, and if we zoom in on these, we've got Real San Sebastian, Real Espalis. Now, San Sebastian I've always been a big fan of because, again, I'm going to butcher Yarzabal, who's an absolute beast up and down everywhere, really. I think I might be tempted to play him as a wing-back. The beast that is Alexander Isaac, who, again, he can sell for 100 mil, I'm sure. And the passing god that is Marino. Technically a challenge because they can't pay that much wages, but actually, they've got a real nice squad. Then on to the Premier League. So Liverpool expect to win the league, but actually they don't have the budget compared to some of the other clubs, so they're a bit of a challenge. Then of our European Champions Cup chasing teams, well, Man United have the biggest budget of anybody in the Premier League. Probably because of Ronaldo, I'm thinking. And with that ridiculous front line, including Cavani, who is he's brilliant, Cavani. Obviously, you've got Martial, Rashford, 17 pace. And Ronaldo. It's ridiculous. Man United always do incredibly well in Football Manager. I think they get away with very high ratings. And the monster that is Phil Jones still getting paid 110k at the back. Wow. They definitely fall into the fun zone of the plot. On the other hand, Spurs, same expectations as Man U and Man City, but way less money to spend. Way, way less. Similarly, you'll get similar challenges out of Everton, Wolves and Leeds, just with expectations further down the table. And then at the bottom end, well, Burnley expect you to fight bravely against relegation, along with Norwich, Brentford and Watford, except Burnley have got way more money to spend. So Burnley is big on the fun zone, alongside Crystal Palace as well. But what you'll notice here, that these plots don't pick up, is a certain team in the middle whose humongous transfer budget isn't really incorporated into all this. And I'm sure plenty of other people have covered that. But if you want to know how much transfer budget any of these teams have got, check out my previous video. And guys, enjoy your Football Manager. Catch you in a bit.